There is a moment early in Project Hail Mary where Ryland Grace wakes up. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know how he got there. He doesn't even know his own name. He is alone on a spacecraft, somewhere in the universe, surrounded by the bodies of his dead crewmates with no memory and no way home. And the film asks, who are you when everything that defined you is gone? That question is the whole movie, and the answer surprised me completely. Hi, I'm a psychiatrist and I've lived with anxiety for a long time. So when a film gets underneath the surface of what actually makes a life worth living, I take notice. This channel is SlowReel, where we watch films slowly for what they're actually telling us about being human. I should tell you, I read the book several times actually, and I loved it. So I went into this film with very specific expectations, and what happened instead was that the music and editing did something the book never quite could. It made me feel all of it. And that's what we're here to talk about. Quick warning, I will be talking about the whole film, including the ending, so if you haven't seen it yet, maybe watch it first and come back. It's totally worth it. The first act of Project Hail Mary is about loneliness in its purest form. Grace is the only living thing on the Hail Mary. Well, he has an AI and equipment, and he also has a mission so enormous it makes everything else feel small. Save the sun, save the earth, save every human being who has ever existed or will ever exist. And he is completely, devastatingly alone. Now, what this film does brilliantly in these early scenes is let that loneliness land without rushing past it. Grace is quietly, methodically piecing together who he is from the fragments his memory returns to him. A detail here, a name there, the shape of a life reassembled. Now, there is something very humane about that process. Most of us don't wake up on a spacecraft with amnesia, of course, yes, but most of us have had moments of losing ourselves. Maybe we're in a new role or a new life stage or maybe even a crisis, where that question of, who am I now, arrives without warning and often without a clear answer. Now, Grace's situation is extreme, of course, but the film, the score especially, holds that feeling with this expansive sadness. It doesn't try to fix the sadness or even rush past it. We're taking through it slowly. And the movie just lets the vastness of space reflect the vastness of being alone inside your own head. Now, the book conveyed this through Grace's problem solving. His mind was always working, always moving forward. The film strips that back and just shows you the silence, and it has its own effect, so I couldn't really compare the book with the movie in that part. Then Rocky arrives, and everything changes. Rocky is an alien, completely unlike anything Grace has ever encountered. Wow. Different biology, different senses, different language, different everything basically. Now, they cannot touch each other, and at first they can't fully understand each other as well. They are separated by a barrier, they're communicating through sound patterns, and they are building a shared language from scratch. And within about 20 minutes of screen time, it's the most moving friendship ever. Connection doesn't require us to be the same. Rocky and Grace have almost nothing in common. They come from different worlds, literally. They experience reality differently, and they can never fully close the space between them. And as the movie shows, none of that matters, because they choose each other anyway. There's a scene where Grace is badly injured and Rocky, who has no frame of reference for human medicine, who has never seen a human body before, spends what must be an enormous effort figuring out how to keep Grace alive. And not because Rocky has to, but he actually wants to. They become friends. And that moment hit me harder than almost anything else in the film, because it's such a pure expression of what caring about someone actually looks like. We don't have to understand them completely, we just have to support them. A quick segue. Rocky would absolutely subscribe to this channel, right? So be like Rocky and subscribe. Now, the film does something you might miss. Grace went to space to save the world, right? That's the mission. That's basically what the whole thing is for. And he does it. He figures out the solution, he saves the sun. He actually does the impossible thing he was sent to do. But the moment the film has been building toward isn't that scientific breakthrough. It is the choice he has to make. Grace could go home. The solution he finds means he can get back to Earth, and back to his life, and back to humanity. He should go home, right? Every logical, rational part of the mission says, go home. But he stays. He stays because leaving Rocky alone and unable to get home, the last of his kind in this part of the universe, is something Grace simply cannot do. The mission was to save humanity, but the person Grace actually became out there, the life that felt real and worth living, was the one he built with Rocky. Connection to another being rewrote that mission. Now the book earns this intellectually. You understand why Grace stays. Now, and the film, with that score underneath it, with Gosling's face in that moment, makes you feel it, makes you feel why he stays. And those are two very different experiences, but both very strong. Achievement is not the point. Grace has a PhD, he's brilliant, he solves a problem that the combined intelligence of all humanity couldn't crack, and none of it is what the film asks us to care about. What it asks us to care about is whether he's okay, whether he's alone, whether someone else is there. And that mission was enormous, and the meaning of it was friendship. I actually think about this in my own life. I have a career I care about, work that matters, things I want to build, and all of it matters less than my people, the ones I come home to, the ones I call when something happens, the community around me that makes everything else feel possible. Now, Grace figures this out 40 light years from Earth, alone in space, through the most unlikely friendship imaginable. But most of us don't need to go that far. But we do actually need to let people in, to stop treating connection as the reward you get after the mission is complete. We have to understand that connection is the mission. Now that's what I think Project Hail Mary is about. It's about the people you choose to stay for. Project Hail Mary says that reaching for each other is worth it, that staying with each other is worth it, that the people you're reaching toward are worth more than any mission you came here to complete. You already know who your Rocky is. Go spend time with them, whoever or whatever that is. Now, do leave in the comments who or what is your Rocky. Maybe it's a person, a pet, a place, the thing that makes everything else make sense. And do come back next week for the next video. Bye.